Thank you for tuning in to another one of my videos. My name is Cliff, and I've been doing a series here called 99 Problems But My God Ain't One. I've been doing this countdown from 99 problem all the way up to the number one issue on why we as human beings are in this so-called mess. The real reason. The number 99 issue I started with was confusion, and this is the whole scheme of things. We as people in this world are meant to be confused on what's going on. We're only really supposed to know one thing, and that is our one true creator, the one God that created this whole world that we live in. And when I say whole world, that's a deception as well. Our world is based on a lot of deception and one truth. The truth is that Jesus Christ died on the cross for you and me. And you are to honor that by loving Him with all your heart and showing that love by loving your brother and sister, and not getting caught up with the lies that Satan tells you, and which is the main one, is that you have the right to kill someone or hate someone enough to kill them, so you can survive on this earth that does nothing but die. This earth will pass away, like the scriptures say in the Holy Bible. And it hasn't been here for millions and zillions of years, or whatever this world science community wants to tell you. Read the scriptures, and then you'll get a better idea of how long this whole thing has been here. Don't let anybody tell you that we've been around for much longer than that. Okay, let's move on. We're in a situation of what, according to the Bible, the prophecy of the Bible, that Bible that nobody reads, even so-called Christians don't read, and the ones, many that do read it, do not really understand it, and for that reason put it down, and don't try to understand as much as possible. They'll listen to what their pastor or minister may say to them and take it verbatim as what the scriptures say. They don't read it and ask in prayer for God to tell them what these words mean or what these lines mean. There's a portion that states that the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the one that died on the cross, is coming back at the end of the age, and he gave a description of what that was to look like near the end of the age. And these days are exactly what Jesus depicted in many points of the Bible. Here we're talking about money and what the world is doing with money. And the reason for this importance is, in the Bible, the Lord states that all money will be stopped in its normal practice and changed into what they call the mark of the beast. Just watch what this gentleman has to say, please. Yeah, everything that I'm showing you with this gentleman His name is Ron Paul, a former congressman in the United States. And I don't really trust everybody. I don't want to say that everything that he says I should trust 100%. But there's a certain amount of people are supposed to know the truth. So there's a vague number of people that are spitting out the truth. It doesn't mean that they don't work for the enemy, which is Satan. They spit out the truth so they can, so Satan can play both sides of this game. He wants to have the people that we may think are being good to us and telling us the truth, but meanwhile they're just playing the other side by Satan's corporation or team of people. So at some point they can be used when we are to believe that they are helping us to the nth degree. Just listen to this gentleman anyways, because he is telling you about the folding or the diminishing use of current currency.
Dad, I'm here to deliver an important message to every American citizen, no matter what your political party affiliation. In short, I want to let you know that a U.S. financial crisis greater than the crisis of 2008 is fast approaching. Most Americans don't realize that in the past 6 years, we have created $4 trillion of new money literally out of thin air. At the same time, since 2006, we have literally doubled our national debt. And I've said many times over the years, prosperity cannot be created out of thin air by a central bank. So please, as a citizen of this country, pay attention to what your government is doing right now. The people running our country today are living in a fantasy world. And if you're not careful, you could be the one who pays the price. Hardly anyone is talking to the American people honestly about what is going to happen in our country. So please hear me out. The way you live, work, travel, retire, and invest in America, everything is going to change. Some of it in ways most people do not expect. Sometime in the next few years, we will experience a new type of financial crisis. And this one will be very different from the financial crisis of 2008, because this time it won't be just a banking and mortgage problem, but a full-blown currency crisis. This will happen because investors around the world are catching on to the fact that the U.S. dollar is not the safe haven it once was. As a result, we are almost certain to have a major stock market crash and a currency collapse too. This will make it nearly impossible for our government to spend more money than they have, to expand the welfare state, to station our military in more than 140 countries. And when our currency collapses, nearly everything else will go with it. Stocks, bonds, commodities, you name it. When you destroy the currency, you can destroy the entire economy. You can destroy the whole nation. We're likely to see all kinds of new laws and rules about what you can do with your money, where you can put it, and where you can move it. They've been doing that since the 1970s. It's going to get worse, much worse. We're likely to have a massive inflation when the trillions and trillions of newly printed dollars begin making their way into the economy. This period is going to be particularly tough on seniors and anyone relying on fixed income or money from the government. We've also witnessed major changes to the very fabric of our society, as well as our personal liberties. Destroying a nation's money in this manner wrecks businesses, friendships, and families who simply don't understand and aren't prepared for what will happen. What our government is trying to do today has been tried many times before in dozens of places around the world. It almost always leads to disaster. I assure you, this gross experiment with our currency will soon lead to a real currency crisis right here in America, the likes of which we have never seen before. The question is not if, but when. The piling up of unfathomable debt and endless money printing is going to come to an end, and it's going to happen much sooner than most people think. For years, I've tried fighting the people behind these policies in Washington. I never voted for more debt. I tried to audit and even put an end to the Federal Reserve. I swore to uphold the Constitution. I took that oath seriously. But the truth is, no matter what's in the Constitution, Washington controls our money, and they have put us on a course for certain financial crisis. Right now, hardly anyone in Washington is talking about this situation honestly with the American people. You can ignore that ugly fact, or you can take the necessary steps to protect yourself. The choice is yours. I don't work in Congress anymore, but I know for certain that you can't wait for Washington to fix these problems. Real monetary reform will come only after a major currency crisis has already done its damage. And that's what is headed our way. So you've got to take action personally. Get the facts for yourself. Learn the steps necessary. Protect yourself and your family from the next practically inevitable financial crisis. And that's why I put together this short message today. It has nothing to do with politics or fundraising. It's something you and your family can do in your own home, and it could literally save your health and your wealth. So let's start with the facts. What we are witnessing in America today is unprecedented. Our government has embarked on a gross, out-of-control experiment, expanding the money supply 400% in just the past 6 years. Do you think we are a richer country today because we now have 5 times more money in circulation than we did just 15 years ago? I sure hope you are not that naive. And since 2006, we have more than doubled our national debt. To put this in perspective, just consider, it took our nation 216 years to rack up the first $8.5 trillion in debt, then just 8 more years to double that amount. Like I said, our government has embarked on an out-of-control experiment, printing absurd amounts of money out of thin air and borrowing so much money we can never, ever hope to legitimately pay it back to our creditors. Still, somehow, our politicians tell us things are getting better. Most Americans have absolutely no clue about exactly what is going on.
Some of you may recall, we announced these payments in January. Many months ago. There wasn't a secret. We announced them to all of you. Josh did a briefing on them. This wasn't some nefarious deal. And at the time, we explained that Iran had pressed a claim before an international tribunal about them recovering money of theirs that we had frozen, that as a consequence of its working its way through the international tribunal, it was the assessment of our lawyers that we were now at a point where there was significant litigation risk and we could end up costing ourselves billions of dollars. It was their advice and suggestion that we settle. And that's what these payments represent.
Okay, so time for a little fact check here. The president stated that the $400 million that was just given to Iran was announced in January. Here, I'm pulling up the press briefing to which the president is referring. January 19th, 2016, by Josh Earnest. It's correct. But let's take a look at what really happened. Right here, the question was asked about the $1.7 billion given to Iran. Now, at that point, there were American citizens released for that payment. In that payment, allegedly, according to Josh Earnest, was a repayment of $400 million right here. So the resolution to pay was $400 million for military hardware that the U.S. seized and interest of about $1 billion. So yeah, it was announced, but that should have already been paid. I'm confused. It sounds to me like that $400 million was already paid back prior to January 19th, 2016. Well, that's odd.
And it wasn't a secret. We were completely open with everybody about it, and it's interesting to me how suddenly this became a story again.